Hey guys, SK here, back with another Clash Royale video, and if you're an Xbow player like me and you are tired of losing to this deck all the time, I have just the video for you. So Manu is back on the channel. Manu is an insanely talented Icebow player, and he has been on the channel before a couple of weeks ago sharing top ladder Icebow gameplay that got him to 7,645 trophies and top 30 in the entire world. I will link that video in the description below if you're interested in watching, but Manu is on the channel, and today we are going to be making a matchup guide against Royal Hogs Earthquake, the deck that I just mentioned. So Manu is here in the clan on two accounts. As you can see, on his first account, his main account, he is top 100 in the world, one of the first 100 people to reach 8,000 trophies already in the season, and as if one account wasn't impressive enough, he's here on his other account as well, top 315 in the world at 7,771 trophies, a bit lower than his other account, but I mean, he's pushing two accounts. That's insane. And he's doing it with Icebow, so classic Icebow, no Archer Queen needed. And so today's video is going to be using Icebow, not 3.0 Xbow Cycle or Xbow Cycle with Archer Queen. And so normally, Hog Earthquake is a very hard counter against Xbow Cycle, but Icebow is a slightly different deck. It has the Rocket and the Tornado, and it does also have the Valkyrie, the version that's being most popularized right now. And so it's going to be slightly different of a playstyle, but this deck is probably going to be the best meta Xbow deck to give you a chance against Royal Hogs Earthquake. So today, Manu and I are going to be doing a matchup guide, and Manu has shared some replays for us, and he's also kindly enough shared some tips, personalized tips for you guys about the matchup. So I haven't made a matchup guide in quite a while, actually. The last time was, I believe, a year ago against Minor Wall Breakers. I make matchup analysis videos, but to me those are different from matchup guide. What I like to do is give general tips against the matchup, and then also give good matches against the matchup as well. So right here I have some really good matchups that Manu shared. I have a match against Pedro, a match against Romaine, a match against this Japanese player, and a match against Bag, a very well-known and popular player as well. And so Manu has won all of these matches, this exact Royal Hogs Earthquake deck, and as you can see, I do like to share good replays, not just average replays or matches, not against players who play bad, and these are all going to be very good players, as you can take a look at their profiles. So I have really good matches to share with you guys today. As you can see, CHN Romaine, very good profile as well, and Pedro, well-known pro as well. So all these players are going to be playing Royal Hogs Earthquake. Manu's going to be able to beat them all with Icebow, and Manu has shared tips. So what I'm going to do for this video is I'm first going to go into a small section talking about general tips that you should apply to your gameplay when in this matchup with Icebow, and then I will go over all these matches, commentate over all of them with my own personal insight into Manu's gameplay, and explain why he's making the plays he's making, and hopefully to help you guys get an insight into understanding how he's playing and why he's doing what he's doing. So I have included video timestamps in the description below, so you can feel free to scroll around to any part of the video that you like and watch it however you feel. But for now, let's head into the matchup tips. Alright, so getting into the general tips, some are going to be from myself, some are from Manu himself, and some are a mix of both. So for the first set of tips, I'll be sharing important building placements for the Xbow and the Tesla, the first of which is shown on screen here, and this is going to be the anti-earthquake Tesla placement. So notice how it's going to be one tile down from the river in the middle, and the purpose of this placement is so that the opponent cannot get earthquake value on both your tower and your Tesla. They're going to have to choose between one of the two, and most likely they will choose the tower, but if they choose the Tesla, you will be happy because they will not be able to get earthquake damage on your tower. This is going to be an important placement in any earthquake matchup. The next one is going to be the center Tesla, very basic and standard. If you're playing Xbow, you should know this one, and it's just going to be 3 tiles down from the river in the middle. Now you can pre-place this placement and it will pull all Royal Hogs regardless of if they try to bypass. If they play it towards the very edge, it will get pulled. Now, if you play this placement reactionary instead, you can slide it 1 tile down, making it 4 tiles lower, and this will also pull all of the Royal Hogs, but one will bypass if you pre-place this placement. So only do this if you're doing it reactionary, but you will be giving them earthquake value if they can hit both of the Tesla and the tower, but if you have an activated King Tower, it could be helpful since it will help out, and you can also maybe bait out the earthquake and go for an Xbow push where you can punish them and they will not be able to to have an Earthquake and cycle, we'll have to cycle back. So next up, we have the Xbow, and I'm only going to be sharing one placement. This is going to be a pretty basic one as well, but it is the anti-Earthquake defensive Xbow placement, and in the example shown here, it's going to be on the right side tower. So if your left side tower is going to be lower on HP, you want to be playing it here on the right side, where they cannot hit the tower and your Xbow with the Earthquake. If your right side tower is lower, you want to reverse it to the other side, of course. And in the matches that I saw, I don't think Manu uses this defensive Xbow placement much, or any defensive Xbows in general, unless he has a huge lead at the start, because I think he prefers to defend without the Xbow and save the Xbow for offense. It'll be in your hand if you don't play it on defense. But in case you do want to go for the defensive Xbows, this is the placement you're going to want to use. Moving on from placements, Icebow does run the Tornado, and more often than not, an activated King tower is going to be better for your defense. You're going to want to try and activate King off of the Royal Hogs as early as possible, so that you will have this extra layer of defense for the rest of the match. A very simple way you can do this is by using the Tornado to pull the Royal Hogs in after the opponent Earthquakes your low Tesla. So it might not be a bad idea to go for low Teslas early on in the match to try and force this sequence. Next, Manu has shared his general game plan in this matchup for all three stages of the game, the stages being single elixir, double elixir, and finally triple elixir. Take note that this is really good general advice, but you don't need to follow it to a T all the time. Exceptions can present themselves, and you should try to figure out the best play in your position. For single elixir, you should generally defend, but you can go for an Xbow if they use the Archer Queen. One example Manu shared was if he goes for a high Tesla and the opponent snipes it with an Archer Queen at the bridge, he will go for an offensive Xbow opposite lane and try to predict either the Royal Hogs or the cannon. Predict with skeletons first, but you can then go for a Valkyrie if the Royal Hogs come down. In double elixir, play defensive first and then attack, so that you don't have any threats. Manu isn't afraid to use Rocket on the opposing Archer Queen if necessary. For offense, you can go for predictions to try and force an Xbow connection, such as a Tornado against the Skeletons to try and make an Xbow connection happen. In triple elixir, you're simply not going to be able to break through with an Xbow, so you should just Rocket Cycle for tower damage. You can also start Rocket Cycling even earlier if you feel more comfortable doing so, or you already got an Xbow connection. Also, I really want to emphasize going opposite lane against this deck. They have an Earthquake and a very fast cycle, so if you go for Xbows in the same lane as them, they will simply get spell value on your Xbow and tower. For this reason, offensive Xbows and Rocket should almost always come down in the opposite lane. There are some exceptions, such as when you get a very early Xbow connection, but this general rule should be followed for the most part. As Manu told me, if the opponent plays in the right lane, Manu's plan is to play in the left lane. Thank you for staying on this long. Right before we get into the matches, I'll show you a few examples that Manu himself shared from the match against Bag to try and demonstrate these tips. Bag went for Royal Hogs first play, so Manu played a Valkyrie on them, and then activated King very early on in the match. Later on in the same game, Manu went for an offensive Xbow and predicted with Skeletons, following up with a Valkyrie to predict the Archer Queen and got a substantial lock on the tower because of this. Lastly, Manu used anti-Earthquake Teslas to prevent Bag from getting Earthquake value on both the Tesla and the tower, and felt comfortable cycling rockets. Okay, so now that we've finally gone over all of the little tips and tricks you can use in this matchup, it's time to see them being put into practice and watch Manu's amazing matches. So we have the first one here against Bag. Hiking Backpack is one of his many accounts, and as you can see, he is going to be a very talented player. So let's see how exactly Manu dealt with this matchup. As we get into it, and Manu has a pretty interesting starting hand. I feel like the only safe play in this starting hand is going to be Log, so that's probably what's going to be coming down for Manu here, as he gives the good luck. And he does, in fact, cycle the Log at the start, so Bag is not making a play. Ends up going for Royal Hogs at the bridge, and so, as we talked about, Manu's just going to activate King very early on, played the high Valkyrie, so notice how he didn't even go for his Tesla, he just went for a high Valk. No Tesla to discourage the use of the Earthquake to get early damage, and early activated King is going to be huge, because it's going to be up for the entirety of the match. It's going to have that extra tower support. Always going to be great. Big thing with Icebow. Here's the anti-Earthquake Tesla placement that we talked about as well, and he's even pre-placing it, so if Bag goes for Royal Hogs, notice how he's not even going for an Earthquake. It's just going to be no use. So Manu also has to go for an Ice Wizard because the high Tesla doesn't do enough, but it is good. And now he's going to go for an Xbow because Bag displayed his win condition, and he does predict with Skeletons, and Cannon comes down. And so he's going to be predicting again with the Valkyrie for the Archer Queen. And so all these predictions are going to be really huge, because as you can see, Manu does get a connection. And so he's going to get very solid, about 1,000 damage, even more, from this Xbow. I'm just going to log the Archer Queen back and take at least one hit, I think. So yeah, really good position for Manu right now, and Royal Hogs come down. Notice how he can go for a low Tesla now, because Bag doesn't have enough for an Earthquake, and even if he did, the low King Tower, the activated King Tower is still helping out big time, and so he doesn't even take any damage from that set of Royal Hogs. So really smart. And also notice how Manu instantly went opposite lane with that Xbow. He's not going same lane, because you do need to be going opposite lane in this matchup. So off to a good start. Just going to cycle Icebow in the back, and we are just about to head into double elixir. Archer Queen comes down. Gonna go for Skeletons for the Fire Spirit, and then Valkyrie for the Queen, I think, after it crosses. So, and he can probably go for an Xbow with this Valk as well, because Valk is supporting any kind of Royal Hogs coming down. So Earthquake comes down, and Log as well. Manu goes for Prediction, Log, and Tornado for the Skeletons, and even though he didn't really hit them, he still got a bunch of damage, and actually really nice, and he's going to be able to go for another Tesla here. Low Tesla again. So Earthquake does come down. Notice how Manu's waiting for the Earthquake to finish and then going Skeletons. And now he's finally satisfied with enough damage that he's gotten. He's going to be switching to Rocket Cycle. So no more Xbows coming down, especially because Bag is going to be predicting with these kind of cannons at the bridge that Manu can't really do anything about. And so here I might consider going for a defensive Xbow, but notice how Manu isn't even doing that. For the Queen, he's just defending. Anti-Earthquake Tesla pre-placed, which will pull all Royal Hogs. Bag's doing the smart thing of going for pigs in the middle, so they'll get to the Tesla quicker. And Bag is trying to cycle rockets. Bag is trying to cycle Earthquakes, but Manu's cycling rockets, and Rocket does more than an Earthquake. So even though I believe 2 Earthquakes is better than a Rocket because of a super fast cycle, Rocket is still doing really well for Manu, and he is still keeping up damage, so he's just defending. He's not going for any more Xbows, because he knows that there's going to be a lot of pressure, and Bag is just pre-cycling cannons. He's really just comfortable switching up the game plan to Rocket Cycle, and now a Queen at the bridge. He can just go for a low Ice Whiz, force the ability out, then go for a late Valk, and the Valk will stay there, soaking the lane up, so if Royal Hogs come down, they won't be able to deal with it, since it's just going to stay there, and that's going to be GG. Bag gives a good game as well. Manu knows it, Bag knows it, and he's just going to cycle another Rocket to finish off the match. So really smart gameplay by Manu, good prediction with the Xbow at the start, good early activated King, which actually helped out big time against all the Royal Hogs, and finally Rocket Cycle to close out the match, because Xbows just weren't worth it. Alright, so the second match we have here today is going to be Manu against Pedro, and as you can see, it is actually a 3-crown. So we're going to see how exactly that happened. And getting into the match here, Manu is on the top of the screen, so unfortunately won't get to watch from his perspective, but should still be fine to analyze and see what he's doing. And so Pedro does go for Pig's first play, and Manu's just going to go Ice Whiz, Log, and Tornado back. So he doesn't even want to take the early King activation this time, he just wants to deny pretty much all damage if possible. Now Pedro goes pressure with a Queen opposite, and Manu's waiting as long as he can before he plays the Valk, so that the Queen doesn't get too much value. He went for Skeletons first, and so pretty smart gameplay there, I would say, because if you play your Valk or Skeletons too early, you don't maximize the time that the Queen is walking, so that's like a very minor detail, but actually something that pays off quite a bit. And so Pedro's just going to cycle a Log. Manu's not going for Xbows right now because he doesn't have the best cycle, and he's just leaking actually, and then goes for Ice Whiz, and Pedro goes for an Earthquake. So it is interesting that he's just cycling Earthquake on the tower. I don't think Bag did that, but Manu's not going to go for an Xbow because he doesn't have Valken cycle, I think. I'm pretty sure that's why. So he's actually just going to go for a pre-Tesla here, and notice how it's staying alive actually, and Pedro goes for a cannon on the Tesla. So now that that happened, Manu's confident going with an Xbow. He is back to Valkyrie, and so Pedro's cycling very aggressively back to Pigs, but notice how he does not have enough for the Earthquake right now. And even if he does go for Earthquake, the Valk is coming, so he has to go to delivery for the Valk. Manu goes for Ice Whiz to support, and Pedro still cannot afford to Earthquake because he has to pick between the Valk and Ice Whiz or the Xbow. And turns out he actually picks neither and loses his tower. Manu's giving some BM. So very interesting sequence there of Manu just punishing very well actually. So pretty well played by Manu there. I think the mistake of Pedro was going for the cannon on the pre-Tesla, because maybe he thought it was getting more value than it actually was. I think he could have just gone for maybe a lower cannon, because the cannon up high just died, basically. Lower cannon would have stalled out the Xbow, let Pedro get back to another Earthquake. And that is also kind of stemming from the Earthquake Cycle. He didn't have Earthquake and Cycle for that Xbow. And it's interesting because I don't think cycling Earthquake is a very punishable play. It's only 3 elixir, and actually kind of dislike it because of how easy it is to cycle. But looks like it was kind of part of the sequence there that led to Manu just winning, and Pedro has just given up. Manu's taking the 3 crown, obviously. And so yeah, high Tesla and to Earthquake Tesla. Looks like it did bait out the cannon. Manu's hitting him with the BM again. But very interesting and still pretty smart by Manu. Even though Manu didn't choose whether Pedro would go for a cannon or not, he still reacted well and punished well. So really nice game, and taking a very early win against the Pigs deck. Okay, so the third match that we have for today's video is going to be against this Japanese player from Juvenile. Very good player. I showed you his profile earlier. And yeah, so we're going to see exactly how Manu won against it. Not much else to say. And Manu is going to be on the top of the screen, so we're going to be watching from the Japanese player's perspective. But I do still think we should have a decent idea of how Manu's playing and what he's doing, so it shouldn't be too much of a deterrence. And so Manu's just going to split Skeletons for the Fire Spirit. I think as much as possible, you don't want to take Fire Spirit damage on your tower, because it does more than a Fireball for only 1 elixir. It's just not really worth at all. And Manu's going to log this Queen back, so ability actually forced out before it even crosses the bridge. So that's going to be really good for Manu. He can just go for a Valk here and go for an Xbow because he's counter-pushing with the Valkyrie. So he's going for smartly timed Xbows, and that's going to prevent Royal Hogs from coming down for a while. He goes for Predictive Skeletons for the Hogs as well, and Ice Whiz to slow them all down. Unfortunately, the Earthquake is going to take out the Xbow, but Manu still gets away with what looks to be only 1 Royal Hog hit on his tower. And so I want you to pay attention to Manu's Xbows. He's kind of going for smart offensive Xbows. He's not just mindlessly spamming Xbows, but he is still playing pretty aggressively in single if he's comfortable with it. So not like you have to defend the whole time. That is an option, but Manu likes to go for offensive sequences when he sees fit. So earlier he thought it would be a good idea against Pedro because he wasted the cannon on the high Tesla. Now Manu had a Valk counter pushing, and now he's going to reset with another of these anti-Earthquake high Teslas that I talked about. And the opponent doesn't want anything to do with it. He's just going to snipe it with the Archer Queen. And so one option against Archer Queen is going to be just tornadoing it back. And the opponent actually does a smart job of protecting the Queen here and keeping it alive. Manu's going to be forced to go for a Valk and log after, because Valk was kind of caught between the Royal Hogs and the Archer Queen. So usually I think you have to play it pretty low if you want it to fully take out the Royal Hogs. But Manu's going to go for an Xbow, and the opponent doesn't really have a great response. I think that cannon should have actually been played up high, because Manu didn't have a great hand for the cannon. But looks like the opponent didn't know that, or was worried about something anyway, and Manu's going to get a really nice connection for that. And he's going to be forced to go back for an Earthquake. So Manu's actually in the damage lead now, going into double, and he does not have an activated king. So let's see how he does this for the rest of the match. He goes for an Ice Whiz in the back, and Archer Queen comes down. Manu's actually going to rocket the tower, not even the Queen. So I was thinking he might rocket the Queen, but looks like he's actually confident enough to just rocket the tower. And now he's going to go for Valk and log. That's going to fully deny the Royal Hogs, plus Earthquake, plus Tornado, and really nice defense. And Manu's in the lead because he just rocket cycled. So anti-Earthquake Tesla coming down again, and Ice Whiz too. Notice how Manu's playing his Ice Whiz on defense pretty low when it's like when the opponent has a big push coming in, because he doesn't want the Ice Whiz to just die to the Archer Queen. So he's not playing it up high on the Royal Hogs, even though it would give a freeze effect, just because of that. And now he can probably confidently go for a rocket, because Earthquake was just used, and he has a Valk coming down. That's going to need to be responded to. And anti-Earthquake Tesla again, which does actually snipe the cannon. And then another Ice Wizard, probably going to see Skeletons and log. And pretty good defense by Manu, so like, he's keeping this game pretty close, but he's rocket cycling after defensive sequences, not in the middle of them. Now he's going to rocket again, even though the opponent has a full Queen coming down. I guess he's confident enough. And actually, if the opponent goes for Royal Hogs here, Manu could just go for a Valk, and even if the Queen goes invisible, it'll still splash the Archer Queen. So really nice detail of the Valk in this kind of matchup, and Valk in general, so good against the Queen, even if it's invisible, as long as it's hitting something else. So opponent knows that, not even going to go for Royal Hogs, forces the Valk out, but Manu still defends pretty nicely, and high cannon coming in, so Manu's still going to snipe it with the Tesla, but waits for it to lock onto the Ice Wizard first. And Manu's also being really patient with the skeletons. He's waiting for earthquakes or logs to come in, and now he's just going to rocket again, and he's going to win. So that was a really nice match too. Manu didn't even need to activate King in that game, and he still was able to break through and defend. That's going to be a minus 37. That's actually insane. So many trophies lost. But really nice win, and that just goes to show you don't even need the activated King to win. It's going to be a huge help, but Manu didn't see an opportunity to do it that game, and he still won. So really nice by Manu. Alright, so now we are moving into the fourth and final match of today's video, and I hope you guys are enjoying it because I have a lot of pro tips for you guys and a lot of replays to demonstrate how exactly you can play this matchup. So really nice games by Manu. Into the next one against CHN Romain. So let's see how he dealt with it. Fourth win, fourth replay. Manu is going to be on the top again, so we're watching from the Royal Hogs perspective, but still should be pretty good, and let's see what happens in this match. So Manu has shared 4 games for us today, and he actually won basically every single game he played against Royal Hogs this time, so pretty insane. And this time Romain is actually just going to go for an Earthquake on the tower, which is interesting. Manu is going to go for an Xbow because Earthquake was used, and actually go for a Predictive Valk too. So Archer Queen comes down, and I guess the opponent didn't want to go for a cannon, and he would be at 0 elixir. But looks like he wants to go for Royal Hogs here. So this is actually kind of an interesting situation, right? Because Manu got a lot of damage, but this is the other issue. If they usually ignore your Xbow and they're not playing anything, it usually means they're waiting to build a huge push. And that's going to be pretty tricky because Manu's pretty low in elixir after that Xbow, because he basically has a full HP Queen, and he took the Xbow damage, so Manu's going to be down quite a lot. Let's see how he defends this. Going for a low Tesla, actually, and skeletons for the Queen. And Fire Spirit does come in on the Queen, but second ability is back, but thankfully Manu's back to a log in time. So actually pretty decent. He's only down 200 damage, and based on the last match against the Japanese player from Juvenile, looks like Manu's actually not afraid to go same lane in this matchup once he already has an Xbow connection. So usually you always want to go opposite, like Manu gave advice earlier, but once he has an Xbow connection, it looks like he's going to stay in that lane so that he can get Rocket Cycle and Log Cycle as well. So resetting with an Ice Wizard, and opponent goes for Prediction Cannon actually, which is pretty interesting. Manu's actually going to go for a Valk, so, and Xbow again. So if the opponent goes for an Earthquake here, I don't know if you'd be able to defend this actually, and Queen goes invisible. Manu, so I was thinking that maybe he could go for a Tornado to pull the Queen back, but looks like he didn't even want to, because he wants to defend the Queen on his side. It is a bit unfortunate that he took the Earthquake damage, and that is one of the downsides of going same lane, as I'm sure Manu himself knows, but looks like he's still fine. And now if Romain goes for Royal Hogs, Manu's probably just going to go for the anti-Earthquake Tesla placement, so let's see what happens. Yeah, just pre-placing this Tesla, and nothing that the Earthquake can really do. I mean, you could cycle Earthquake on tower, but it would just be... Manu would probably just rocket back, honestly, after that. And you can't really Earthquake the Tesla because you don't get any tower damage. And now he's literally just going to rocket, so it is double elixir. He switches game plan from going for Xbows to going for rockets, and again, really nice Tornado, forcing out the ability, and then being able to deal with the Queen on his side without the ability being possible to be activated. So, and Manu does like to do this a lot, where he snipes the cannon with the Tesla. So he lets the Valk come down and walk up, or Ice Wiz in the previous match, and basically he's going for these Teslas to snipe the cannons, but making sure they're protected by something else first. And so Tesla does take some damage, but still Ice Wiz comes down too, Log comes down, and Manu is defending, and now he's, again, like the last match, he's just going to Rocket Cycle after a defensive sequence. So not Rocket while they have Royal Hogs in hand, but after they've used the Royal Hogs, he's confident to just go for the Rocket and these high Teslas. And Prediction Skeletons this time for the Archer Queen, and Ice Wiz comes down again. Probably Valk 2 for the Queen, or Log first. Okay, Valk first and Log, yeah. Doesn't want to take any damage, and he's going to reset with the Tesla. This one is going to be in range of an Earthquake if Romain wants to go for it. And now, okay, now here's the question. Is Manu going to rocket these Royal Hogs? But I personally think he's not going to, because he needs rocket on offense, and I think he's going to go for something like a Ice Wiz Valk instead. Yeah, Ice Wiz comes down, Valk comes down, and even Log to make sure he doesn't take any damage. Now he's going to rocket. So rocket does, I believe, 591. So pretty close to 600 damage. I think 2 more rockets and 1 Log will be enough. Yeah, so 1 more rocket and a Log. Romain has 1 final chance to break through. If he doesn't break through, it's going to be over for him. So Manu goes for the high Tesla again. Romaine does a really good job of protecting the queen with skeletons, but Valk comes down, and NATO comes into NATO, so that's really nice synergy with the Valk. And Earthquake comes down, but it's not enough, and that's going to be rocket log range. So Manu's going to walk away with the win against Romaine, so really great gameplay, very close at the end. But looks like Manu knows when to go for Xbows, knows when to get connections, and then after that, he's going to be confident enough in just defending and rocket cycling, so really well played there as well. And that is going to be the video, guys, so I hope you were able to learn a lot. There are going to be some really nice games from Manu, 4 games he shared, 4 wins, all against the same matchup, against really good players as well, Bag, Xpedro, Romaine, and the Japanese player, all very good profiles as you saw. And so this matchup is going to be not that bad for Icebow. I think it's still a Royal Hogs matchup, maybe 60-40 or 65-35 in Royal Hogs' favor. But obviously Icebow does have the options to break through with Xbows if the opponent messes up, and does have a lot of outplay potential as well with predictions, and also the King activation, so just a lot of tips. And I haven't made a matchup guide in a long time, but I think by the time I'm recording this, I haven't edited the video yet, but I would probably have worked really hard on the editing, so I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Lots of really great tips from Manu to share, and yeah, there's a lot of ways to deal with the deck with Icebow. With 3 Xbow Cycle and Xbow with Archer Queen with Fireball, it's going to be harder because you don't have the Rocket as a win con, but with Icebow, you do have this Rocket option, and so you do have to take that into account. It's going to be a very good option in a difficult matchup like this. Also the Valkyrie, just so good against Royal Hog, so good against Archer Queen. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you're able to learn a lot. Let me know if you enjoyed the matchup guide, if you have any critiques or suggestions or advice or ideas for newer videos too, newer matchup guides you'd like to see. This took a lot of effort, honestly, so probably won't be a video I make very often, but when I do, I like to go all out, so I do hope it was useful for you guys. But yeah, that's going to be the video. Hope you guys were able to learn a lot. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.